And away we go. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening somewhere else and you would like to join us for the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. And now also you can find me on Rumble, and that's Coffee Talk 2, the number 2, that is, Coffee Talk 2. And to the point, if you are watching on Rumble, then no, I cannot see the comments. I can only see the comments that are coming in from YouTube, unfortunately. Being joined today by Granny Smith. There's Granny Smith sitting on the floor, keeping me company. She's the only feline in the room as we get ready to jump off. I'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have chimed in on the chat so far, and then we'll move along. Johnny says, happy boring Friday. Well, not out here. It's 4 inches of snow this morning. Helter is here. Tuck is here. Says like, share, and subscribe on both channels. Please do if you don't mind. Jimmy is here. Dragon. Country Living is here. Raccoon is here. John is here. He says cat power. Yep, there's Granny Smith once again, sitting in the corner. There's her little habitat that she likes to hide in sometimes. And Johnny made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Johnny. Says, how is Pirate? Pirate is great. Pirate is getting up there. Pirate is one of the rescue cats that we take care of, and she's very fluffy, and she's got black nostrils, and that's why I call her Pirate. She's got a white face with black nostrils, and she looks like a skull. But she has gotten to a point of being extremely friendly now, to the same level as Hobo and Dad. So, but thanks again, Johnny, for making a donation to the channel. Brian has joined us. D-Lo, Jane Spitfire, Cyberjack Sr., and Kimberly all said hello as we get ready to rush in here. Again, 4 inches of snow this morning where I was. That's what I measured out, was 4 inches. And I'm the only driveway for probably a mile that's shoveled out. And I did a short of that on the Prepper channel because I thought it was funny that people are standing around looking confused. Nobody's got a shovel. No one has a shovel. No one has salt. And I'm like, I get it. It doesn't snow in Georgia very often, but it does snow. It does snow from time to time. You think you'd want to be prepared for that? Nah. No, but that's that prepper mindset. That's that prepper mindset. I know it does occasionally snow, so I better have something ready for it. And there you go. As we get ready to jump off, and as is alluded to in the thumbnail, where'd all the money go? Where'd all the money go that was supposed to be for the fire department? They took away, and we know some of it was diverted to the homeless, but actually, apparently, Newsom had gutted more than $100 million from other counties. Johnny wants to know if it's still snowing. No, it stopped a couple hours back. Daily Caller article: gay choirs, trans cafes, and social justice art is what LA spent money on while cutting its fire department's budget. Oh, I'm glad to know that it went to something useful. The city of Los Angeles cut funding for its fire department and allocated thousands of dollars to various progressive programs, including a, quote, midnight stroll transgender cafe and gay men's chorus. Fires swept through Southern California on Wednesday, destroying hundreds of homes in Los Angeles County, and high winds only fueled the destruction. The Democratic mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, was slammed for slashing the Los Angeles Fire Department's budget by $17.6 million for the fiscal year. citing LA City's controller Kenneth Mejia. And I think it's also interesting to point out, I don't have the article pulled up. I saw an interesting video clip with the mayor, with their mayor, Karen Bass again, Karen Bass, when she finally got back to the United States because she was in Guyana on the taxpayer's dime. And she was stuck at the gate waiting to go through, and there were camera crews and reporters out there, and they were asking her, and she would not speak at all. I don't know if anyone has seen this video clip. She would not speak, not one word, just stood there looking deer in headlights, just dumbfounded. And they're like, do you have anything to say to the people of Los Angeles County? Anything? Do you have anything to say? And she wouldn't speak. And he was like, an apology, maybe? Anything? The reporter was trying to throw her a bone. Nothing. You think she could at least think on her feet and come up with something that sounds plausible, like, no idea it was going to get this bad. I feel really bad about this. I'd rather not say too much until I get to talk to people that have their boots on the ground. Come on, come up with something, honey. Nah, we're not smart enough to even come up with anything on the fly. Incredible. As I catch up a couple of comments here really quick. Tuck says, how does one have a yard but no shovel? Yeah, I know. Or a snow shovel. I mean, granted they don't have a snow shovel, and most digging shovels wouldn't be very useful. Something. Hell, a push broom. Just something. And Jane says stopped, but started to lightly rain. Yeah, it did in some areas. John says I have extra food and water, including cat food, plus alternative power. Sven says I'm glad I can use any bathroom I want in LA, much better than people having houses. Hey, you can use the bathroom anywhere you want in LA anyways, because there's a fecal map. But now it doesn't even matter because there are no houses. But strangely enough, and I thought this was interesting, a lot of the trash barrels are intact. Those street barrels are standing there. Johnny says gay choir and art won't put out a fire, but it will ignite a fire inside you over the spending. Incredible. And Country says give the trans cafe goers and choir members buckets. Indeed. But back into the article. It says Bass claimed in a press conference that none of the reductions made would have impacted the situation that we were dealing with over the last couple of days. And she added that the city is in tough budgetary times. They're in tough budgetary times, but they have money to throw into these agenda programs, right? Los Angeles allocated $100,000 to the Civil, Human Rights, and Equity Department for a midnight stroll transgender cafe. So you had $100,000 for a midnight stroll transgender cafe, but you didn't have $100,000 for additional fire equipment. Gotcha. The funding's purpose is to support safe havens for unsheltered transgender individuals in Hollywood. By unsheltered, of course, they mean homeless. So the funding's purpose is to, quote, support a safe haven for unsheltered transgender individuals in Hollywood. People, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. And this is why it's important for me to be able to pull up these documents so people can see that I'm not making it up. Eric says the flight was 17 hours from Guyana. She couldn't plan a response to that question. Yeah, it had to have occurred to her that something like that would come up. It must, or at least one of her aides, her attorney, somebody. Hey, they're going to ask you some questions. Come up with something, or have someone on her team, an intern or somebody, write something up for her, since I'm sure she doesn't make her own speeches anyway. Someone could have come up with something, and they had nothing. And she stood there dumbfounded, well, just looking with a glassy eyes, a glazed look on her face, while the reporter, I mean, again, even threw her a bone, an apology maybe, something. She could sit there and say, I'm sorry this happened. California is prone to wildfires. I guess no one expected it to get that bad. Anything so you don't look like a moron. Continuing into the article, similarly, the Cultural Affairs Department Special Appropriations budget allocated $100,000 for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People Awards ceremony. The budget also appropriated $8,670 for the One Institute, the International Gay and Lesbians Archive. That's a mouthful. One Institute, the International Gay and Lesbian Archives. Who wants to call their organization that? It says that One Archives is at the University of Southern California Libraries and has an exhibit titled Sci-Fi Magic Queer LA, Sexual Science in the Imagination, which focuses on the occult and the LGBTQ movement. Well, yeah, I could see the occult and the LGBT movement being connected. The budget also allocated $13,000 for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender Heritage Month programs, and $14,010 to the Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles. What's the extra $10 for? Los Angeles African American History Month, American Indian Heritage Month, Latino Heritage Month, and Asian American History Month programs each got an additional $13,000 on top of what they already got. Budget appropriated another $770,000 in total for the Social Justice Art Worker Investment Program. It just keeps getting worse the further I read down this list. All this stuff is unnecessary. All of that is unnecessary. It's all virtue signaling bullshit is what it is. Meanwhile, Rome burns. Johnny says if the citizens of LA were stupid enough to get her into office, they're stupid enough to ignore her non-comments. Donna is here, says, will the other 49 states have to pay for this fire damage? Yes, they will, because, of course, FEMA is going to have to go out there, which means that's going to be federal money, and it's going to come from everywhere else but California. So, yes, you will be paying for this. You will be paying for this, Donna. So will I. Jericho says, what a stupid way to spend money. I know. A lot of worthless programs. This is the kind of fat that Elon and Ramaswamy have been asked to cut out of government budgets. This kind of nonsense. Gay choirs and transgender coffee houses for unhoused transgender people who live in Hollywood. Give me a break. Nature Nerd wants to know if they can make a holiday for the United States, U.S. people in other countries. No, because they don't care about you. They don't care about you. But that's where the money went, in case you were wondering. That's where the money went. Hey, Granny Smith, and you can all see now that Granny Smith has jumped up into the chair behind me. Hi, darling. Granny Smith is a joy to be around. Actually, she's a really a sweet little creature. And Nature Nerd says, I hope those movie stars enjoy their $750 Biden checks. But they'll do better than that because they're the only ones that are insured. Insurance companies have been pulling out of California for years, okay, because of high taxes and mountains of regulations. They don't want to deal with it. And they've been pulling out for years. And it's been accelerating in the last couple of years also. Furthermore, a lot of people, because the insurance is so expensive, they don't even have insurance on their homes. I'm willing to bet probably half of the people who lost a home or not a business, because businesses, they have to be insured. But as far as a residence, I'm willing to bet half these people don't even have insurance because they just couldn't afford it. If they could even find an insurance company that would still operate in California because of the taxes and regulations that Newsom and other people like him, other governing bodies in California have saddled everybody with. So it's a scorched earth proposition. It's like Hawaii. And yeah, somebody's going to come in and sweep it up and offer them pennies on the dollar for the land, because the land value is all that's left. They're not going to get any insurance. They're not going to get much from FEMA. The John Goodman and whoever else lost a house out there, Anthony Hopkins, are the only ones that probably have any insurance on their properties. Whether or not they rebuild is negligible, very likely not, because regulations for building in California are so strict, they probably don't want to be bothered. And Cray Ray has joined us. John says FEMA is a horrible organization and they're out of money. Johnny says, how could they have a home and not have insurance? Only way I can think of is if they have the home all paid off. Yeah, it would have to be. It would have to be paid off, because no lending company is going to allow you to have a home with a mortgage if it's not insured. So anybody out there who already owned a home that couldn't afford the insurance, that cut the insurance off, is screwed. They're screwed. Eric says Mel Gibson was on the news. He said he lost his house and doesn't think he has insurance. He doesn't even know. Oh, wow, that's bad. That is bad. Furthermore, to add to the problem is the looting. There's a lot of looting that's going on here. And here's a Newsweek article on the subject. It says California residents won't evacuate the wildfire areas because of looters. It's like the Wild West. So, yeah, some Southern California residents are refusing to leave their homes amid the ongoing wildfires due to looting in the fiery Los Angeles area. No kidding. Who's surprised by that? There's always looting, because that opens up opportunity for unscrupulous individuals. Any kind of major disaster like this is going to get scavengers in to come and start picking through. And it goes on to say in the article, wildfires in Los Angeles have caused widespread devastation, destroying nearly 2,000 structures and consuming 42 square miles, an area nearly the size of San Francisco. 2 new fires erupted in the Hollywood Hills and Studio City, compounding the challenges for firefighters already battling major blazes that have killed 5 people, forced 130,000 evacuations. I actually heard it was 180. And devastated communities from the Pacific Coast to Pasadena. Local news stations report Wednesday multiple residents told reporters they're worried about evacuating their homes due to the flames, but also due to looters reported to be taking items from the affluent neighborhoods. Reporting from damage from the Eaton fire, reporter Haley Winslow said Wednesday it had turned into the wild, wild west here. It is just completely complete insanity on all corners. That's unfair to the Wild West, because it wasn't as wild as it's depicted in the movies. And I'm wondering, has National Guard been deployed? I haven't seen anything about the National Guard being deployed, because this would warrant it for the governor to deploy the National Guard, at the very least, to watch out for looters. To watch out for looters, to watch out for people picking through rubble, and things like that, to watch out for more dangerous areas. And Eric says, is it looting or reparations? Good question. We are talking about California. We are talking about California. Incredible. But that's going to be a problem. I'm surprised that nobody thought of that. It says at least 20 people have been arrested in the wildfire evacuation zones in Los Angeles this week, law enforcement confirmed Thursday. It's going to be hard to catch people right now under those circumstances who are running around trying to steal anything under the circumstances. There's an interesting picture. It says a man walks past a fire-ravaged business after the Eaton fire swept through on January 8th. That guy always looks like that, I'm sure. And Johnny wants to know, has Biden declared it a national emergency? Biden is too busy making gaffes. He was in California. He did meet with Newsom. He was in a press conference. And at the press conference, he said he wanted everyone to know that despite everything that happens, that's going on, that there is good news, because he just had a grandbaby. I know you were worried, Johnny. I know you were worried that he might be heartbroken about the fires and that the grandbaby picked him up. Okay? He actually said that, and it's kind of funny because if you see the video clip, Newsom looks at him like, holy shit, what are you doing, dude? I know he just wanted to say, shut up. You could see it in his face. But yeah, he's like, oh, there's some good news. I just had a grandbaby, girl, boy. Like he don't know what it is or can't remember. And then he's under fire again for a gaffe in a press conference with Kamala Harris sitting at his side. And he tells her to fire away. You might have seen this in the news now. Well, go ahead, fire away, talking about California. And everybody, the room went completely silent, and everybody's looking at him. And he goes, oh, no pun intended. You got to love him. You got to love him. Jane wants to know, will they rebuild businesses and homes or create work for more people? This is a great opportunity for one of those tech billionaires that's been buying up huge swaths of abandoned neighborhoods in California to build their 15-minute cities, because they can start from the ground up here. I mean, this is bulldoze time right now. Bulldoze time. Cray says Helene victims still living in tents in winter weather and cold weather with nothing. That's right. And Jane says, who cares about President Biden's grandchild? Well, shame on you, Jane. He's trying to give you some good news, especially if you're in California. Don't worry. Yeah, I know there's been a fire, but I've got a grandbaby. Isn't that marvelous? Come on, Jane. Sarcasm, of course. Nature Nerd says the only good thing is that Newsom cannot run for president and win with this disaster. True, because it represents a great deal of mismanagement on the part of the government of California. It really, really does. Now, one more here, since we're talking about people getting kicked in the teeth for saying stupid things. You want to talk about gaffes concerning the wildfires? I give to you, ladies and gentlemen, Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, Fox News article, Bernie Sanders takes heat, there's another pun, for blaming the California wildfires on climate change. It's climate change. Climate change is to blame for the fires. Okay, Bernie. As wildfires ravage California, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake, Senator Bernie Sanders is facing pushback for promoting climate alarmism. Sanders asserted that climate change is real. That's a quote. And that President-elect Trump must tackle the existential crisis. 80,000 people told to evacuate. Blazes 0% contained. 8 months since the area has seen rain. The scale of damage and loss is unimaginable. Climate change is real. It's not a hoax. Donald Trump must treat this like the existential crisis that it is. And that's Sanders on Wednesday morning. Can't let it go. Can't let it go. I mean, I know Bernie Sanders is from the East Coast, but someone might have wanted to tip him off that there have been wildfires in California as far back as history records. It's a natural occurrence in California. The objective is to control that from reaching populated areas. And that's where California has failed so badly right now, is being prepared for that possibility, because wildfires happen out there all the time. It's not freaking climate change, moron. Jane wants to know, does anyone know what Obama and Trump were talking about at Conyers' funeral, because they were smiling? Yeah, Trump was letting Obama know that he got a hold of the secret video of him and Diddy. Johnny says, did the police order people to leave their homes? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. As I catch up here, Yuang says, disappointed with Bernie's response. It wasn't climate change. Fires happen often in California due to the wires, and it's been dry before we found out about climate change. Yeah, there's always been wildfires in California. It's very common, very common. And Lamb's Light says, what do you know about Joe releasing Guantanamo inmates? Yeah, we read that earlier this week. 11 of them were cut loose, or they're being cut loose, and they're being sent to Omar. They're being released to Omar, including people who they are pretty sure were bin Laden's bodyguards. Country says California needs to work on the forests and not get rid of the water reserves. Frankie says mandatory evacuations. Yeah, but right now they really can't enforce it. But talk about putting your foot in your mouth. Between him and he looks crazy all the time. Looks crazy all the time. I think it's really interesting, too, that Bernie used to constantly target millionaires until he became one, and then he ratcheted up to billionaires are the problem. Billionaires are now the problem here. Now, I showed you, we talked about the fire chiefs. I'm going to open this up here really quickly. Talked about the fire chiefs. I've got an image to show. Did I put this on X today? I don't remember. Here we go. All right. I thought that there's an interesting connection between the three. You remember them. That is your fire chief, your assistant fire chief, and your equity bureau chief of the Los Angeles Fire Department. Okay. And we showed their pictures yesterday. All three are female. All three are lesbians. All three are DEI hires. Okay. And they all have the same first name. Did you know that? They're all named Kristen. Christina Crowley is the first LGB fire chief. Christina Kepner, first lesbian assistant chief. Christina Larson, first black lesbian equity bureau chief. Equity bureau. What does that even mean? Equity bureau chief. So they've all got the same first name. They're all Kristen. That's crazy. Christina Crowley's salary is $439,722 a year. Christina Kepner's salary is $264,468. And Christine Larson's salary, that's the one in the middle, is $399,000 for being the equity chief. What the hell does that mean? Someone explain that to me, please. Someone explain that to me. I don't understand. Country says Bernie should be a South Park character. And Lamb's Light said we had evacuations in the Helene disaster in Western North Carolina. Johnny says, I noticed the lady behind Bernie had a mask on. She needs one with all the spit Bernie is spewing out of his mouth. Exactly. Eric says they lived in LA for 15 years. People forget that if it wasn't for LA and San Francisco, California would be very red. People don't realize how conservative the rest of the state actually is. Incredible. And of course, Lamb's Light there, they says, ask people if you would pick a surgeon based on the stupid DEI. I have actually a video clip of their equity chief talking, and I'm going to play it for you. I want you to hear what she has to say. Okay. And Jericho says historic. Yes. And as I always point out, something may be making history, but that doesn't make it historic. And for $399,000 a year to be the equity fire chief. I don't know what that means. I don't get it. I don't get that. And I'm with you, Johnny. It says, I'm so sick of all the first this and first that. Let's just cut the crap. I know everything is in history. I've made that example many times. If I went in my out in the backwoods here and I cut down 4 trees, I've never cut down more than 1 tree at a time. That's history. I made history by cutting down 4 on the same day. Is that historic? No, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. I'm knocked out by these salaries, though. I'm absolutely knocked out by these salaries, though. That is mind-boggling. But I'm gonna try to pull this video clip up. Let me see if I can get a hold of it. I'm gonna try to pull up this video clip, and this is that equity chief talking, because I heard her say something really interesting, and I wanted to share that. Okay, I wanted to share this with you and see what your thoughts are. But like I said, I caught something interesting in it. Let me know if you can hear this clearly. There she is. Okay. There she is. I'm going to go ahead and run.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
You caught that? Did you hear what she just said? I'm going to play it one more time, and then I'm going to elaborate, okay? I'm going to just that one part, the second part. First of all, she thinks that it's important. First thing she said, that the diversity is important so that when you're rescued from a fire, you feel more comfortable if the person rescuing you looks like you. I don't think if you're being pulled out of a burning house, you give a shit who's doing it, okay? But let me play that second part again.
Person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
The arrogance right there. You just heard that? You heard that? What she said was that a question she gets asked is, would you be strong enough to carry my husband out of a fire? Okay. And the response is, well, he shouldn't have gotten himself in that position in the first place if I have to carry him out of a fire. Blaming the victim. First of all, doesn't admit that she doesn't want to admit that she can't do it, and does not say that she can. She doesn't sit there. Her response isn't, of course I can carry him out. She redirects the question and blames the victim. You heard that, right? And Inspector has joined us. Glad you could make it. Thanks for joining us today. Jericho says that's snobby. It's very snobby. It's a very bad attitude. It's his fault for being in the fire. Okay. So if the house next door catches fire and it spreads to my house and we are asleep in bed, it's my fault for being in the bed while the house is on fire, even if I didn't know. That's my fault. I shouldn't have gotten myself in that situation that you have to carry me out. And again, never said that she could. Never said that she could, but too arrogant to admit she can't. I cannot see her. I cannot see her putting a 200-pound man on her shoulder, climbing through a window and down a ladder 4 stories. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Country says Equity Bureau sounds like they just keep track of the diversity hires. She doesn't look like a she. No, she looks actually obese. She looks very chunky. Frankie says, I'm sleeping and suddenly I'm in the wrong place during a fire. Sure, I'm in the wrong. Exactly. Exactly. Tuck says a pile of trash. Yeah. Exactly. This is the thing. Jane says, you're right. Bad comment on equity officers' part. Nature Nerd says, fake firefighting jobs. We need people that know how to determine causes of fire and how to put out fires. Unpredictable fires, people don't care who helps them. Yeah, I don't care what the person looks like if they're pulling my wife out of the house and I can't get in there. Or you see what I'm saying? I don't think it matters. And if you're all geared up, you don't know what they look like anyways. Jane says, good point. Firefighters have to be in shape. And she's clearly not. She's clearly obese here. She doesn't look strong. And, you know, sometimes people who are overweight, they'll surprise you. They can be kind of strong because they're carrying around a lot of weight all the time. But they have no resilience. They run out of steam quick. Johnny says, you have a first. You're the first person in your family to have a cat named Granny Smith. There you are. Historic. No kidding. I deserve a Medal of Freedom. He says I deserve a Medal of Freedom. Well, I do have this. I still have my certificate. I'll read it later. I'll read it later. I'll read it in a minute. But just the arrogance there. This is your diversity chief, whatever the hell that means. You want to see someone that responds to your house.
Somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better.
What only a situation I need understood better is my house is burning down.
Is she strong?
Is she strong enough to do this? Read the closed captioning. If it's hard to understand what she's saying, I'm just, you know, slow it down for people that can't clearly hear her.
Strong enough to do this, or you
couldn't carry my husband out of a fire.
Carry my husband out of a fire,
which my response is
he got himself
in the wrong place. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. D'Lo says they overplayed this clown. Her salary is $399,000 a year. $399,000 a year. Tuck says that my strongest 6'2", 265 construction worker. I've had a very hard time getting a 200-pound person downstairs fast. This mutant definitely can't do it. No. It's not, and especially if you've got a body that's unconscious, it's very difficult to move around. If anyone's ever had to handle one. And Puck says, no, she's not strong enough. But again, doesn't admit she can't, just won't admit it, but never does say that she could. Otherwise, she'd sit there and say, yeah, I could totally handle the average guy. Never says it. Never says it. Sven says she should be fired. Sven said she should be fired. Yeah, she probably should. She probably should. They could all end up on the chopping block right now, quite frankly. I'll go ahead and I'll stop that screen sharing there. But I just wanted people to hear that. I wanted people to hear that. That's your equity chief, whatever the hell that means. That is your equity chief. And Country says, are they going to send her only to fires where the people there look like her? I'm sorry, I can't help because you don't look like me. Yeah, maybe. I had seen somebody talking the other day in a video clip. I'm not sure who he was exactly. And he said that I really, really want to talk about my white privilege right now because I had applied for the fire department, and this is in California. He was put on a waiting list for 7 years because he was told priority had to be given to minorities. And he got, I can't remember where I saw this. It was a video clip. And he was at a conference. It was like before Congress. And he said that when he got a call, finally, you can come in and take the application. And he comes to do the application, and he's in line, and there's a black woman in line behind him. And he says, he asked her out of curiosity, how long have you been waiting? And she was like, well, I just applied Wednesday. Wednesday. Meanwhile, he had to wait 7 years for the call. Joe says, Smelt, a 3-inch fish is more important than keeping from burning to death. Yeah, he wanted to protect the smelt. He really didn't want to protect the smelt. He didn't want to have to fight with the Indian Council in that area. That's why Newsom elected not to pump out of that lake. And the smelt could be reseeded. They could totally do that, or they could capture some and then pump. They could figure it out if they really, really wanted to. Talk says Adam Carolla. Is that who it was in the video clip? Because I can't remember. Who it was. And Eric confirms. I saw that. It was Adam Carolla. Thank you. But I was told, Johnny suggested that I deserve the Presidential Medal of Freedom for naming my cat Granny Smith. But I do have my Great Citizen Award. That was presented to me by Tom Lopek, the president of the Voter Participation Center. You remember this? I showed this a couple of months back. That we got in the mail. The Great Citizenship Award. And I have to sign here. But I can only sign it if I promise to vote. Remember? It says, thank you for registering to vote, which, by the way, I never did. They automatically register you without your knowledge or consent when you go to the DMV. To say thank you in advance for being a voter this year, we've included our Great Citizen Award. Some of the most important things we do never get recognized. We've already given you the award, and now you can do your part to earn it. Remember, when you vote, who you vote for is private, but whether or not you voted is public record. After the election, we may check the voter record to see who we will send awards to next time. Don't blow it. Great Citizen Award. You see, I never signed it, right? I held on to this because I thought it was so asinine that they would do this and try to coerce me with this. And Jericho remembers that. Yes. Johnny says that's when you put African American on your application. Then when asked about it at the interview, declare that you identify as a black person. No, you can't get away with that one. I believe I've told the story about my wife and the guy that was in her unit when she was overseas, that was in Egypt. There was an Egyptian who became an American citizen. They put African American on his application or something. He put African American on something in the military, and they denied him, told him he wasn't allowed to do that. And he was like, but I am from Africa, and I come to America, become citizen, join the army. I'm African American. And they were like, no, you can't do that. So there's a line in the sand, Johnny. I'm sorry. Johnny says, not because of naming the cat, but because of the sincere hard work you do for feeding and caring for the cats. So I appreciate that, Johnny. There is no award for that, unfortunately, though. I just have to suck it up and take care of the cats. And again, for those of you keeping count, I have 18 that I'm caring for in our makeshift shelter, as it were, including Granny Smith. Hi, Granny. Sitting in the chair behind me, who will never go outside again. She will not. But there you go. Great citizen. I held on to that. Oh, Jane's got to go. It says, going back to work now. Have a nice weekend. Oh, thank you. Glad you could join us. Johnny says I would be terrific voice actor for animation. I've had a lot of people tell me that I should do voice acting. Honestly, I've thought about it, but I don't know how to break into it. I don't know how to break into that. I would try out for it if I could. If I knew how, let's put it that way. If I knew how to do the voice acting, because I can do a lot of voices, and it's primarily because when I taught my kids to read, because I taught my kids to read, all of them myself, I would read with them. I would take a book and I would read one page and they would read the other, and I would do a dramatic read and do all the voices and everything to make it really interesting to encourage them. And it worked out really well. All my kids can read really well. Fox News article. I'm sure you've all seen this. This is the big news story that's not about the fire. Joke sentencing of Trump 10 days before swearing in. Because, of course, today was the day, and they passed the sentencing in New York with Eric Bragg, who is very upset now because it didn't go the way he expected. It says, slamming the sentencing of President-elect Trump on Friday, calling it a disgrace. Trump was sentenced Friday morning in New York City to unconditional discharge. He was convicted last year of falsifying business records after a years-long investigation by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Oh, I said Eric. It's Alvin Bragg. Despite Trump's attempts to delay sentencing, it went forward 10 days before inauguration. The incoming president attended the proceeding virtually. After careful analysis, the court determined only lawful sentence that permits entry of judgment of conviction is unconditional discharge, according to Judge Juan Mercan. At this time, I imposed the sentence to cover all of the 34 counts. All of the 34 counts. And there's Alvin Bragg leaving court, wondering if he'll ever work again. Because once again, he was hired only on the pretense. All the money that came into his campaign and everything was from people on the promise that he would go after Trump with anything he could dig up. And the whole hush money trial, again, it's a non-disclosure agreement. It doesn't even matter. It's not even illegal to have a non-disclosure agreement. Most people have signed one. You probably signed one at one or many of the jobs that you've had in your life. We all do them. And also, Bill Clinton, I think he did 4 of them with women that he was caught cheating with. He's had 4 non-disclosure agreements with women. I believe it was 4, and paid more than Trump did. Paid out more than Trump did. So there you go. There you go. Kimberly says maybe there's no award for saving the kitties, but it's rewarding and appreciated. It is rewarding. I enjoy doing it. I really do enjoy helping them out and taking care of them. I get a kick out of their personalities. Somebody needs to help them. But there goes Alvin Bragg wondering if he's going to be working next year. I'm sure he's amassed enough money being the highest paid district attorney in the country. In the country. His salary is insane. And that's just the salary, never mind the rest of it. Incredible. But that's the judge said it's the only sentence that they think they can pass, which basically is, okay, you were found guilty, but we can't really do anything. We can't put you in jail. We can't fine you. We can't even really give you probation because it's not really illegal. So unconditional discharge. Go about your business. Bye. That's what that is. If he had given him any kind of a real sentence, it'll get appealed in a higher court and probably thrown out because Bragg broke the law in order to get this pushed into court. But there you go. And this is about what I said would happen because we've been talking about this off and on for a while. So because the system is crooked, they'll try to find him guilty. If he's found guilty, they're not going to do anything to him. He's not going to land in jail. That'll never happen. And everybody, all of the uber liberals are all like, ew, finally, we're going to put that MAGA creep in jail, bastard. Whatever it takes. And they know that something shady was done to get him into court. And don't care because they just don't like him. He may be guilty of something, but this ain't it. And now look. Oh well. Suck it, Alvin Bragg. Oh my. Puck says the prosecutor described Trump as Charles Manson, but agreed the sentence was correct. Yeah, there you go. What a load of crap. What a load of crap. Frankie says they were approached by a talent representative for voice actors when I was at a gun shop, gave me and a young couple his business card. Interesting. Interesting. But yeah, I mean, he released on his own recognizance, no probation, no jail time, nothing. Nothing. Because there's nothing there. And Puck says SCOTUS decision was stupid. They allowed a totally bogus conviction to reach sentencing. Well, it was rigged. All of them. And most of the other trials have been thrown out because the ones for what the documents was thrown out. The connection to January 6th, that was thrown out. The only one that's left is the one in Fulton County, Georgia. And Fani Willis has been thrown off the case, finally. She's been rejected. Johnny says they knew they could not get him, but decided to make a show anyway. Exactly. Decided to do it anyways. Oh, and in the midst of all of this, and I pulled this story up because of how phony this is, and I hate the phoniness of people. We're going back to California, but not about the wildfires, because we are going to San Francisco, not Los Angeles, because San Francisco has a new mayor. Okay, very interesting. Tuck says that the appeal is underway too, and that could be interesting. I agree. And Lotus Blossom has joined us. Glad you could make it today. And Caps says, can you make a video talking about how you learned to read and write and how someone can learn to read and write? I love your stories and the cats. Thank you. I mean, I suppose I could at some point. I do a lot of random videos. I don't do as many like dedicated videos as I used to, because on both channels, YouTube just kicks the hell out of them. I just did one on Aspen Dental yesterday that I put up. If you haven't seen it yet, guys, I put one up yesterday, and someone had commented, wow, this is really interesting. This needs to be a viral video. Yeah, good luck. YouTube's not going to allow anything that I do to be viral. But I mean, yeah, I could do something talking about that, because there's no excuse. If you really want to, you can find a way to do it. There's so many resources. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. If you can't read well, who cares? I mean, just do what you need to do, and you can teach yourself easily enough. But this is going back to California here. LA Times article. Daniel Lurie is inaugurated as San Francisco's new mayor. This is where our comeback begins. 4 hours before he took the oath of office Wednesday to become San Francisco's 49th mayor, Daniel Lurie started his day walking through the bleak confines of the Tenderloin district with the city police chief and passing out coffee to people at a homeless community center. So photo op, gotcha. It was a deliberately symbolic move by Lurie, a nonprofit executive and heir to the Levi Strauss family fortune. Wow. Who won office in November largely by appealing to disillusioned voters weary of the public drug use, brazen retail theft, and sprawling homelessness that during the pandemic became commonplace in the Tenderloin and spilled into the downtown financial district. So we walked around. This is Mr. Photo Op, okay? I'm going to tell you right now. Look at this one. If you can see the photo, for those of you who can see, you can see that the picture that he takes here while he's out doing that. Now, the picture that got my attention, this is the, oh, here we go. It's up here. It says, Mayor-elect Daniel Lurie surrounded by faith leaders who pray for him during an interfaith service at Congregation Emmanuel ahead of his inauguration. All right, this is the shot. That is a very staged photograph, okay? Surrounded at the interfaith by various faith leaders. That is everybody there that is reaching out to him, putting their hands on him while he looks like he's trying to choke back tears in this very staged photograph, are all pretending to pray for him. You see the guy with the Salvation Army uniform. You see the woman with the tefillin, which is a Jewish shawl, which in theory she couldn't be a religious leader in the Jewish faith. You see all these leaders putting hands on him and praying for him in an interfaith conference, which is, by the way, not in the least bit biblical. Just saying. Let me catch up here real quick. Nature Nerd says, unacceptable how Gen Z and Alpha can't read and write in schools while their parents allow the kids to watch unlimited brain rot. Exactly. And Puck says San Francisco is the homeless center. Yeah, the entire city. This photo is so staged, and it's so inappropriate to me, especially from a religious standpoint. My wife and I, very much into our biblical study for more than a decade, and very Torah observant, which is all that Yehovah or God ever asked of us in the first place. Just follow the damn rules, basically. You don't allow people of different faiths to pray for you if you can help it. Because in theory and biblically speaking, they're not worshiping the same God. And that is a violation of the Ten Commandments, or of the Bible in general. But even if you're just falling down on the Ten Commandments, a lot of Christians like to say, as long as I'm following the Ten Commandments, which they don't anyways. Which one says, I am a jealous God? This is right out. This is a heavy-handed sin, according to the Bible, which is what's emphasized in the Ten Commandments, which is a mistranslation. I know I'm going way down a rabbit hole here, but this image frustrated me. That the Ten Commandments is actually the 10 words of God. That's the correct translation from the Hebrew, okay? That's the correct translation from the Hebrew. And it's how Yehovah opened up. Okay, people, this is what we're going to be talking about today, and named 10 heavy-handed sins, that is, the ones that you can't get out from under, before going into all of the rules that you see in Deuteronomy and Leviticus. And those are the main ones you would have to worry about, quite frankly. Those are the big ones. Screwing around with other faiths is on that list. I couldn't have allowed this. I don't know you people. Leave me alone. Johnny says, if someone has hands on you and praying, wouldn't you at least have your head bowed and not looking around smiling? Well, he's trying to look stoic. All people says faith leaders at an interfaith gathering. LOL, indeed. Armored Ghost, the West elites drank their own Kool-Aid. They did. Nature Nerd says too many churches are borderline cult. Puck wants to know what happened to separation of church and state. Well, nobody really understands even what separation of church and state legitimately means anyways. Again, the original purpose behind separation of church and state was to keep the government out of the church's business, not the other way around. And Nature Nerd says 10 commandments are meant to be impossible to follow, which is why people sin and need Christ. No, they're not impossible to follow. What's one of the sins? Thou shalt not commit murder, so it's impossible for you to run around and not kill people? That's what they tell you in church to get out from under doing any of what's in Deuteronomy or Leviticus correctly. I'm sorry. They're not impossible to do. It's impossible to not worship other gods. You can't do it. You see what I mean? It's impossible not to steal. They're absolutely possible to do. The rules that are in Deuteronomy and Leviticus are possible. Although some of them do require access to the temple, which the temple is not there. But while the temple is not there, you just don't do them. Like you can't sacrifice a chicken right now, for example, if it calls for something like that. But anyways, with that, yeah, all people says 613 mitzvot. 613 mitzvot. But with that, we are at the top of the hour. So I will go ahead and start wrapping things up. Again, you are listening to and/or watching Coffee Talk. And you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk, and on Prepper University. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. You can find me on on Rumble. I'm podcasting from Restream, unfortunately. But you can find me on Rumble, Coffee Talk 2, and that's the number 2. And again, if you're watching there, I can't see the comments there right now. I'm not able to see the comments there. Special thanks to Johnny, who made a donation to the channel today. Goes a long way towards helping with our felines. Very much appreciated. And with that, again, thank you everyone else for joining us. Hope you all got something out of the conversation. And we will see you again tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Monday.